Joel Klatt on a Wednesday. Let's bring him on. Oh, he's got a bounce. He has got a bounce I have not seen in a long time.
You know, I listened to the show, and I'm quite aware that you couldn't keep my name out of your mouth yesterday. I heard it. Check this out. We all heard it.
What? What did I say?
His son's going to shatter all of Joel Klatt's records.
I know.
It's just a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, Joel Klatt's name just going to be taken off the Colorado quarterback record book. It's going to be all Shedeur Sanders.
Klatt held the record for 9 completions in a game, so I think Shedeur's already broken that.
Shedeur's broken it.
I think it was an intramural program when Klatt played there. Just shots taken at Joel. Okay. We kid,
the shots.
Because we care.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so let's just say this. You get excited for Colorado games. Weren't you? Here's my thing. Weren't you a little surprised with 70% transfer roster at the efficiency?
Yeah, that was the most. So what was I not surprised about? What was I surprised about? Well, I was not surprised at the level of talent. I knew that was there on the outside in particular. I knew Travis was going to be a great player, and those wide receivers, I had watched a lot of tape on them. Watched a lot of tape of Shedeur. I wasn't surprised with the level of talent. I was shocked at 2 things. The offensive line held up for the most part in protection. That's number 1. And number 2, the level of efficiency in operation was wild. Like that shouldn't happen. And remember, this is 68 new scholarship players. This is a brand new offensive coordinator. Normally, if you just have a new coordinator and a new quarterback, it's bumpy. Like, oh, it's bumpy and we're going to take a delay a game. Nothing like that whatsoever. And the ball was going to the correct spot all the time. I made a point early in the game, and I believe this because, like, their offensive line is not great. Okay, now they played well, but they're not a great offensive line. You still have to game plan around your offensive line, minimize their impact on the game. And Sean Lewis, the offensive coordinator, did a great job of that. But that only works if the game can be run through the mind of the quarterback. So that means that, like, every play, he's making a choice. He's playing the ratios. He's playing the leverage. Where is the ball going and at what timing? And Shedeur did that so well, and that's part of the reason. It wasn't just his ability to throw the ball and get it there on time and on target, which was also very good. It was his ability to manage the game through his mind that really impressed a lot of the NFL people that I talked to over the last couple of days.
Now, Dad's the coach. I strongly believe, I mean, I know this sport. Okay, take the LSU's going to win the natty thing out. I'm usually right on the button.
I was coming with that
one. Okay. They're going to go on a 9-game winning streak, so let's slow down. The point being is, Shedeur Sanders is absolutely, in my opinion, when I watched, and 2 people I text, a top 10 pick. But does he leave? Does he leave Dad?
That's a good question. He's never played for anybody else his whole life. Think about that.
Wow.
Like, Prime has been his coach since he was in youth football, then coached him at Trinity Christian, then coached him at Jackson, now coached him at Colorado. He's never had to play for anybody else. And I don't know this to be sure, but I could see him, and he would get Travis as well. Like, Travis Hunter has to be here next year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see. Now we'll see how it all goes. If you're going to be a top 5 pick, that's a lot. Obviously, he doesn't come from low means, so it's not like he's dying for that. But that's a huge payday nonetheless.
Sure. You could also get.
It's a good question. Listen, it's a good question. But if to your original point, let's just say it like this: if Shedeur continues to play at this level, he's absolutely in the conversation in the top 10 of the NFL draft.
Oh, God.
No question about it.
I could not believe his accuracy.
Yeah, it was very good.
Slot. I mean, leaning, moving. It was like home.
The 4th down, which you just saw, if you're watching, the 4th down, game's on the line. It is 4th and 3, and he gets a blitz in his face, and he backpedals and basically throws a fadeaway that if it's behind the wide receiver or running back in this case by a yard, it's stopped. Because the linebacker's going to catch up and tackle him, and he fades away and throws it perfectly on the outside.
Do you think other coaches watch Deion and think that blunt style? I'm just gonna bail on players because it was a little harsh. Do you or is that one of those? Well, it works for Prime. It wouldn't work for us.
That's a good question. I will say that I think that I think that the narrative isn't correct that he essentially ran off everybody. If you actually know what happened, there was only about, and I know this seems like a large number, but there was only about 19 to 20 guys that they sat with and said, hey, listen, it's not going to work out here. Can we help you get to another program?
Okay.
Everybody else quit. It was too much for them. And why was it too much for them? Because his standard is really high.
Yeah.
This is what I think also people don't understand about Coach Prime is that he's more like Nick Saban than he is different from Nick Saban. Yeah. And I know that sounds crazy.
It doesn't.
But it's true. And it's in this respect, the reckoning that is every day in each of their programs is really high. Every player, the standard that they set and expect from their coaches, their staff, their players is really high. It's what makes it hard to play and coach for Nick Saban. We all know that because then he presents that exact same exterior when he's speaking with the media.
Yeah.
You don't expect that from Coach Prime. But a great example is that his defensive coordinator is Charles Kelly, just came from coaching at Alabama for 4 years and Florida State before that. I asked him, I said, like, if you tell me, how alike are they? How different are they? And he said they're 98% alike and 2% different. It just so happens that you see and hear all the 2% and you don't see the 98 behind the scenes. So one of the reasons why they had such great turnover and immense turnover is that his standard is just way higher than people actually realize from the outside.
So Texas, Bama. So I saw
that's a good one.
It is a good one. So I'm not a big Quinn Ewers fan.
Okay.
I don't think he would be a top 5 quarterback in the Pac-12. I'll get to that.
That's a good debate. I like that.
Not refined enough for me, a little sloppy, but I think Sark's good at coaching quarterbacks.
I think you're right, by the way. I'm just running through them in my head.
Do you buy into this theory that Sark went with vanilla schemes and pulled back, or maybe they're just not very good because they couldn't move the ball against Rice in the first half?
I think both can be true. There's no doubt in my mind. Sark is smart enough to know that, like, he's not showing anything to Nick Saban. There's no chance he's showing anything to Nick Saban in that week one of what they want to do, what they have to do, what their bread and butter is. That can be true, and at the same time, you can watch the film of that game and think to yourself, man, I thought Texas would be better up front. Man, they didn't protect the quarterback well. Man, Ewers was still 0 for while throwing the ball 20 or more yards down the field. That's got to improve. Last year against Bama, early in the game, he was so accurate throwing it down the field. Remember how explosive they were in that first quarter? I mean, if he stays in that game, Bama's got some issues.
Right.
There's no doubt. And since then, it just has not materialized with Texas or with Ewers. Ewers struggled throwing it down the field. He struggled against ranked opponents. I believe he was 1-4 against ranked opponents. And then here's the other part about the Texas aspect going into Tuscaloosa. I don't think that we appreciate how difficult it is in college football to beat a top 5 team in their own building. It just doesn't happen. Yeah. Do you know last year, top 5 teams were 30-1 in their own building? The only win was Michigan beating Ohio State in that last game of the year. Since 2019, even top 15 teams have only won 3 times in top 5 buildings. And that was LSU with Joe Burrow at Alabama. It was Oregon at Ohio State a couple of years ago, and then Michigan at Ohio State last year. So as much as I want to say, hey, Texas is ready, their roster is ready, I think they actually have the better quarterback in this matchup. Alabama, I'm not sure. They don't have Bryce Young to bail them out. Even after saying all of that, I just don't think Texas can win there.
Yeah, it's tough.
And not with Ewers playing like he did last week or like he did down the stretch. He's going to have to find a different level. He's going to have to find the same form that he had in the game a year ago in the first quarter.
Okay, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I had just rambled at one point. I thought LSU might win the Natty. The officiating was very curious in the second half.
Are you really going to talk about officiating? It was like, what was it, like a 4 score? Like,
anyway,
Here's your problem. Ready?
Yeah, I'd
here's
like to hear it.
Here's
like a needle in a haystack question. What is my problem?
Oh, I mean, it's obvious, actually, is that your basis on the LSU stuff is that you really like Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
You think he's an excellent coach.
Yeah, coaching matters.
Mike Norvell just coached circles around him in the second half of that game. It's true.
Well, Norvell's
it's true.
good.
They didn't adjust.
Well.
One, the mistakes were profound. Again, special teams and offensively. That speaks to coaching, preparation. We can't marvel at Colorado's ability to be well coached in their first game with 68 new scholarship players. And then Brian Kelly in his second year with his quarterback back, they look like a train wreck in the first half, and we're just going to brush it off and continue to think they're like, well, no, Brian Kelly's elite. Mike Norvell outcoached Brian Kelly by a long shot on Sunday night. They ran the same run concept time after time after time in the second half, and LSU had no answer.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.